Hello, this is Mr. Tybox123, and in this video I'm going to be bringing you my review of the Dell Alienware m14x. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go through a whole variety of sections and I'll give you my opinion on this laptop and how it performs in each of those different elements. So before I do that, let's just start off with the actual specs of this particular laptop that I've got. So this is the m14x. It's got the Intel Sandy Bridge i7 processor running at 2 GHz. It's got a 14.1 inch widescreen high def WLED with true life screen running at 1600 by 900. It's got an integrated 3 megapixel HD camera. It's got all of the features you'd expect in terms of wired and wireless connectivity. It also includes a SIM card slot should you want to get some kind of 3G access. It includes an optical drive and also has high definition audio. The speaker configuration is a 2.1 and it's powered by clips, and also if you wanted to use the HDMI out, you'll actually get 7.1 digital audio out using that HDMI connection, which is superb. This one's got 4 GB of memory and a 500 GB 7200 RPM hard drive. Now, when you configure this laptop, a lot of those items are configurable, and if you go for the top on everything including SSD, you can bump this up to quite a significant price. Now, this particular model came in at about £1,000, and I believe that would be about $1,300 in the US. Now, as you know, I brought you the unboxing for this laptop a short while ago, and thanks very much for all your feedback on that. That was really nice. And in terms of the actual unboxing and the way that the packaging is presented, I think this laptop is superbly presented in its packaging, and it's also quite a cool feature that they give you this small soft material case to put it in without really adding any bulk, but offering you some level of protection. That's something they didn't have to do, but it's definitely a good thing for them to have included. Now, the look and feel of the laptop, I think this laptop looks absolutely superb. I think it's got a fantastic design. It looks really nice sitting on the desk, and also the materials that they've used in terms of the bits that you actually touch have got a really nice feel to them, and it makes it a pleasure to work with. The LED lights that you're able to configure, and I brought you that in a previous video, I think is an absolutely superb feature. It's really quite fun to mess around with those and change the colours, and it just brings you a kind of fresh look to your laptop every time you go to use it, should you want to change those. The construction is really very nice. It's very well made and feels very, very solid as well. Definitely a well built machine. You've also got on the front here the Alien head. Unfortunately on this version you can't configure the lighting for that, but it does light up in a certain colour, and that actually adds a nice touch as well. The hinge has got a really nice solid feel to it and doesn't feel like it's going to flex or break, which is definitely important. And the screen itself, I love the way that they've made the entire panel a complete either glass or plastic section, and haven't just singled out the display and embedded that into the lid of the laptop. That complete glass finish is definitely a nice touch. Now, onto the size of the laptop and the weight. This laptop weighs in at 6.4 pounds, which is a whole pound heavier than the 15-inch MacBook Pro, and definitely does feel like quite a weighty laptop for a 14-inch laptop, but then it's packing in a whole bunch of performance for that weight. In terms of dimensions, it's 13.2 by 10 by 1.5 inches thick, although when you're actually looking at it, the laptop itself doesn't really look quite as thick as those sizes kind of suggest. And I think for a 14-inch laptop, it's most definitely an acceptable size for a laptop with this kind of performance. Now, let's talk about the heat and the noise that this laptop produces. I found that when it's running a complicated game or a screensaver of some complexity, the computer can heat up to a reasonable temperature. And when you start playing games that have got a high intensity of performance requirement, then it definitely kicks up. If you're using the onboard keyboard and mouse for any kind of prolonged period of time and you're running at a high intensity of graphics and performance requirements, then the laptop itself can get quite warm, can get quite hot. I definitely recommend using an external mouse at least, maybe even an external keyboard as well. Now the keyboard is a very nice keyboard, definitely easy to use, very easy to type on, gives you good feedback when you're pressing the button. Personally I prefer the little chiplet style keyboards that Apple do, but this is definitely a viable alternative to that to have a comfortable typing experience. The trackpad here is quite nice to use. I much prefer the larger trackpads on like a MacBook Pro for example, but very easy to use. It's got good feedback, it's very sensitive, and absolutely no problems with that setup whatsoever. Now onto the audio and visual of this laptop. The screen itself, running at the 1600 by 900 resolution, is fantastic. It's a very detailed, high definition screen. Even with a very small typeface, you get a very clear, readable screen of any kind of text. The colours are rich, the blacks are dark, and generally the screen is absolutely superb on this laptop. And like I said before, I really like the way that they've embedded the whole thing into the lid of it. The webcam is a very good webcam for a laptop. It's not quite as good as maybe an external high definition webcam that you might buy from Logitech or someone like that, but very usable for Skype and very usable for making some kind of blog or vlog or any kind of YouTube video from it as well. Gives good colours but does require a relatively decent level of light. And the sound that you get from it was one of the downsides. I found that the sound that you get through the microphones was not particularly good. It was acceptable but not quite as good as it should have been. Onto the sound. The sound on this laptop is the best sounding laptop I've ever heard. The sound quality that comes out of it is absolutely fantastic. When you play something on it and the music comes out, you just really aren't expecting the quality and the loudness that this laptop produces, and I don't know how they've managed to do that, but it is by far and away the best sounding laptop I've ever heard from the audio perspective, and it's a real joy to listen to. Now I'd just like to talk a little bit about the noise that this laptop produces. In every day-to-day work it's absolutely fine, doesn't really kick out much noise at all unless you're in a warm environment, but when you do start playing some highly resourceful requirement games, then the fans kick in and they can kick out quite a lot of noise. I think for a prolonged period of time, if you were sitting right on top of it, that would get relatively irritating unless you had the superb audio turned up quite loud. But the noise that this laptop generates can be quite significant. Now in terms of performance, we did the benchmark video which gave you some idea using Geekbench, and it hits in round about the 9,400, 9,500 mark, and that's well above the average for this kind of category laptop, and similar for the gaming as well. The 1.5 gigabyte Nvidia card that this comes with is really quite superb, and on a whole range of games I was getting a very good frame rate. And if you want me to show you some of those frame rates in some of those games, write some comments below and I'll do another video giving you an idea of what some of those frame rates were in any particular game that you want. One thing for sure on the performance side, from an everyday point of view, running applications, opening all the different Office apps and Photoshop and even Premiere and using email and all those kind of things, this laptop is very, very fast and performs absolutely superbly. When you're running games, it runs every game I've come across very, very easily, and also gives you a very good performance from those games. Now moving on to the battery life, I've found that I can get anywhere between about 3.5 and 4.5 hours from the battery on this laptop, which for the specs that it's got I think is a reasonable output for this kind of laptop. If you're using it for just Wi-Fi and internet and using the odd bit of maybe Word or Excel or something like that, you can quite happily push it up to about the 4.5 hour mark. If you start playing games on it, then you're looking more around the 3 to 3.5 hour mark. So like I say, I think that's a relatively good battery performance for this kind of laptop and the kind of performance that it's going to give you. Now onto the ports on this laptop. One thing I really like about this laptop is the collection of ports that you get on it. You have the SIM card slot, which enables you to put like a cell phone SIM card in there and get some kind of 3G access or 4G access. You've got the SD card reader, got two headphone sockets, the microphone socket, a USB charger, a DisplayPort socket, HDMI output, VGA output, and then on the other side we get 2 more USB ports and also an Ethernet port and a Kensington lock. One thing I really liked about the ports on this laptop is that you can actually plug in something into the USB port when the laptop's switched off, and the laptop will continue to charge that device even though it's completely switched off. So that's a really good feature to have as well. Now I'll just talk a little bit about the software that comes included on this laptop. There really isn't very much software installed at all, which is definitely a good thing by me. They don't package it up with any kind of antivirus or anything weird like that they normally do and chuck on all of their crapware. The software that comes with it is literally the Alienware FX, some recovery software that enables you to rebuild the laptop, and also the Alienware Command Center. So it's not overloaded with a load of crappy freeware or shareware that quite often they would put on the laptop when you get it out from the Dell factory. Something else that's very cool about this laptop is it has something called wireless HD, and you can actually buy receivers for this wireless HD, plug them into your TV, and then wirelessly present the screen from the laptop over onto your TV and get a very good performance from that over at the wireless HD transmitter connection. One thing I was a little bit disappointed with on this laptop is the Wi-Fi performance. Even now when I'm actually sitting right next to the receiver, I found that the Wi-Fi performance is not fantastic at all, and I quite often get much better rates even out of my iPhone or my iPad when I'm doing some speed tests. So that wasn't very good, but really that's probably one of the only holes that I can actually pick. And going back to my review of this laptop, my overall opinion of this device is that it's absolutely superb. There's very little things that I can put down about the laptop. It performs well, it looks great, you get fantastic feedback from the keyboard and the trackpad, the sound quality is absolutely awesome, the screen is absolutely fantastic. The only couple of things that I'm not particularly over thrilled with is the heat that it produces and also sometimes the noise. But other than that, for the money, even though it is quite a lot of money for a 14-inch laptop, I think this is an absolutely superb option if you're looking for a Windows-based laptop. Please let me know if you'd like to see any more coverage from this Alienware m14x, and thanks everyone for watching. If you like this video, subscribe for more, and I'll see you all in the next one.